Chapter 6 test, taken on 5/15/2018. This is on section 6.1 to 6.4. Multiple choice, find the remainder. In this problem, I have f of -2. So let's just say you wanted to do it the long way. X is equal to -2, right? In function notation, inside the parentheses is your x value. So you could have added 2 to both sides, and then I get x plus 2, right? And then you could have done long division. You could have done synthetic division through here. But here, they're actually talking about the remainder theorem. Well, what is the remainder theorem? Well, I can take this value, substitute it in, and whatever number I get at the end, that's my remainder. This was the quickest way without using synthetic nor long division, but it is possible to use those. So basically for every x value, I'm going to be putting in that -2 value. There's my x, -2, x, -2, x, -2. Then over here I have the order of operations, PEMDAS. This is how I'm going to simplify. I'm going to do parentheses and exponents first. So the common mistake, the students who like to repeat math, they're going to multiply or subtract right there. They need to do the exponents. This is -2 times -2 times -2. It is okay to use your regular calculator to figure that out. That is -8. -2 squared is a 4. So that means 2 times -8 gives us -16. -6 times 4 is -24. -3 times -2 is a positive 6 and 15. Add all those together, you get -19. Your answer is B. Question number 2. The function c of x models the number of cookies sold each day by a bakery during a 10-day period. Between which days did the number of cookies sold by the bakery increase? Increase going from left to right. Where is it going up? Days 2 to 3. So here's the days on the x-axis. So I just have to look here at this interval. So from here to day 3 here. Going from left to right, you're going down. Think of it as a roller coaster. You're going in this direction. Days 3 to 4. Color. So from here to there. No, going down. C. Days 5 to 6. From here to here. You're going down on the roller coaster. The only part where you're actually going up is days 6 to 7. Day 6, there's day 7. So that would be choice D. Question number 3. Determine the quotient. Here, they show you long division. You don't have to do long division. You could have done it through something else. But that's what I chose to do. So I have 3x minus 1. I'm thinking about how many times that goes into 6x to the 4th power. Well, that is 2x to the 3rd times. Multiply, multiply. I'm subtracting these values. 6 minus 6 is 0. 1 minus a -2. So that becomes a positive, so that's 3. 3x to the 3rd. Bring this one down. 3x goes into 3x to the 3rd. X squared times. Multiply, multiply, and you're subtracting. 3 minus 3 is 0. 8 minus -1 is 8 plus 1, which is a 9. Bring that one down. 3x goes into 9x squared. 3x times 3x times 3x gives you 9x squared. 3x times -1 gives you -3x. Subtract. 9 minus 9 is 0. 9 minus -3 gives you 12. Bring that down. You get -4. 3x goes into 12x. Positive 4 times. 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times -1 equals a -4. 12 minus 12 is 0. -4 plus 4 gives you 0. So your choice is B. Remember, you can always take your answer and you could have multiplied to actually check your answer. So if you have extra time, you could have done that by using the box method. Question number 4. Write the 0 that corresponds to each factor. X minus 5 equals 0. You're going to add 5 to both sides. X equals 5. Now if you wrote 5, I did not accept that. You got 0. It tells you the x value, and you just wrote 5. You made the x disappear. Bad. Question number 5. Write the factor. So when you think of the word factor, you should be thinking of these parentheses. So I need the parentheses, so if I add 4 to both sides, I get x plus 4 equals 0. When it's set equal to 0, then I can put up the parentheses. Remember, the reason why they called the previous problem a 0 is that on the x-axis, this is 5, and your y value is 0. That's why they call anything touching the x-axis zeros, because your y values are 0. Question number 6, multiple choice, factor completely. I have x to the 4th minus 8x squared plus 16. My a value is 1, b value is negative 8, c value is 16. You'll notice this is a trinomial, 1, 2, 3, so you can use your Xbox method. Class, what's half of 4? 2. So you can use your x in box. A times c is 16. Your b value is negative 8. Two numbers that multiply to be positive 16. But these two values add to be negative 8. That is negative 4 and negative 4. Think about what these two are doing. They are splitting the middle term, negative x squared. So I'm adding an x squared there. You have your first term, your last term, and then you're just taking out the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor in this direction is an x squared. In this direction, it's a negative 4, x squared, and a negative 4. Another way to rephrase it is, what do I need to put on the sides so that they multiply to get what's in the box? Once you have the ones on the outside, you have x squared minus 4 and x squared minus 4. You should recognize that in this problem, this is called the difference of squares. If you don't know that, add a 0, your x, your placeholder, and factor again. Two values that multiply to be negative 4 but add to be 0, it's positive 2 and negative 2. And because you have two sets of x plus 2's, you can write x plus 2 squared. So the correct answer is x plus 2 squared times quantity x minus 2 squared. 2 points apiece. Let's double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So that side was 14 points. Turn the page. Graph to the right is for questions 7 and 8. So here's my graph. I have x-axis is always time, that's your independent, and dependent is the number of cell phones sold. Function p of x models the number of cell phones a shop sells each day during the first 30 days it is offered. On which days were 100 or more cell phones sold? So I go up to 100. You can draw a line there. Let's count the number of days. Oh, look at this. On day 0, it sold how many phones? 300. How does a store not sell phones when it's not even open? Now in our days we call that a pre-order. So if I want the iPhone 11, I put my money in early, I'm the first to get it, it's not even sold in stores. As soon as it's not even open, right, they already have sold the phone. So day 0, it is above 100. You can think of it as the order pair is 0, 300. This y value is above 100. Day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way till day 6. At day 6, it looks like they might have sold exactly 100 phones. 100 or more. So this is an inequality equals to. And the number of cell phones is equal to or greater than 100. So that would be days 0 to 6. If you pick something like days 1 to 6, which is a common response, I gave you 3 points. you would have to recognize that at day 0 they did actually sell more than 100 phones. So here, draw yourself a visual, look and put that in context. Question number 8. What was the average rate of change? Okay, so you should just pause. Average rate of change is just an Algebra 1 idea. This is called slope. That's all it is. They just make up fancy terms for things you've already learned for the same formulas. What was the average rate of change in the number of phones the shop sold per day between days 1 and day 12? Now, I don't know. I thought that when I was doing the question, I was like, oh, should I make the question more difficult? Because you look on the graph, that was the only 2 order pairs on there. I was like, is that too obvious? Is that too easy for them? Like, maybe we should make it a little more challenging. Okay, I'll just give it to them, right? These are the only 2 order pairs that are on the graph. So somehow you had to use those 2 order pairs. Round to the nearest integer. Explain the meaning of your answer in terms of the problem situation. So I labeled it. I would probably say 1 out of every 2 students miss this problem. If they had knew average rate of change was a slope, always write down your formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That should have been an easy 2 points because you had your formula sheet, which you have. Label your order pairs, x1, y1, x2, y2. Remember, it doesn't matter how you label these. This could have been x1, y1. You could have labeled these x2, y2. What is important is that in your equation, your y's are above your x's. Do your substitution. 36, y2 in my case was 36 minus, remember that minus sign has to be there in the formula, your y1 value is 254. Your x2 value is 12, and your x1 value is 1. So you're subtracting these values, and you'll get negative 218 over 11. So that's approximately negative 20. Negative, very important. Remember, in this formula, I put the change of y over the change of x. Okay, so we're still using that graph. So the change in the number of cell phones sold is in relationship within the number of days of the cell phones sold. So this is what I wrote. So if you got negative 19.8, negative 218 over 11, or approximately negative 20, you got 3 out of 4 points. To get full credit, you were looking for the word explain. Explain the meaning of your answer in terms of the problem. Okay? Because it's negative, what's happening to the number of phones sold per day? It's going down. Maybe it's like the pink phone, and everyone's excited, oh, it's the pink phone, oh my goodness. And then it starts wearing off, and like everyone has it, and you're like, okay, I'm just like everybody else. Boo. Right? So in your explanation, I wrote, every day the company sells 19.8 or 20 phones less, or you have to have some kind of idea about decreasing. That's how you got the 4th point. Not just the right answer, it's the context that included. Question number 9. Factor completely. It's interesting, some students had correct answers but no work. You can do the problems without work, but hopefully they weren't working by looking at their eyes and looking around the room. 2x to the third minus 3x squared minus 32x plus 8. You should count the number of terms. Class, count with me. Ready, set, go. 4 is what? Factor by grouping. So in factoring by grouping, you should automatically see that there are 4 terms. Well, what do? You have 2 sections. You have this green area, and you have this red area. The green area, if you wrote them out in factors, you have 2 times x times x times x. And then 3x squared is 3 times x times x. Then you have x squared in common. You see that? And then what was not circled was 2 times x minus 3. Okay, look here. This was the easier part, the green area. So if you need a hint of what your answer should be on the other side, look there. Your answer should be 2x minus 3. Okay? Now, look what's included in this problem. The second part in the red area has negative 32x plus 8, plus 48. The common mistake was to think that the greatest common factor was plus 16. Plus 16. That's wrong. Here's how you know it's a negative. Negative 32x, the factors are negative 16, 2, and x. My factors for 48 are, well, here's your hint. There's negative 16, so have negative 16 on the other side. Negative 16 times a negative 3 gives me a positive 48. What do they have in common? A negative 16. There's my greatest common factor. What's left? 2x plus a negative 3, or 2x minus 3. For the student who thought it was 16, you can't have negative 2x here, right? That was the common mistake. If you thought it was plus 16, if you distribute, although that does give you negative 32x plus 48, these are not exactly the same. Do you see that? Like, Mr. Ring, it's just a plus or a minus. Well, don't you want your bank account to be 1 plus and not a minus? There's a big difference, isn't it? So this is wrong. Let's write that. Wrong. So it is a negative 16. So x squared minus 16 times 2x minus 3. Here, if you got this, you got 3 out of 4. If you stop there, because you have this problem here, x squared minus 16, this is x squared plus 0x minus 16. Placeholder, this is the difference of square problems. Your b value is 0, the two numbers are 4 and negative 4. So on my rubric I wrote, if you had 2x minus 3, but didn't have the factors of x squared minus 16, or you didn't factor this, then I give you 3. If you had some kind of greatest common factor right there, like x squared, I gave you at least 2 points. Question number 10. It says factor completely. So again, notice how they're not telling you factor by grouping, factor by chunking. It's not telling you that. You need to identify. Well, the very first thing you should always look for is what, class? Class, what does that stand for? You have to look for it. Why? It makes the problem simpler. That's what it does. Well, everybody wants things that are easier, right? So if I write out the factors of 6x to the 5th, that's 6 times x to the 3rd times x squared, or like 5 x's. Negative 24x to the 4th. You put minus 4 times 6 times x to the 3rd times x. Or you could just have 4 x's there. And 18x to the 3rd, well, they all have 6's, so I'm not going to choose 9 times 2. I'm going to have 6 and 3. So 6 times 3 times x to the 3rd. Well, what do they have in common? Each of these has a 6x to the 3rd. Okay, if you got that far, in this problem I only gave you 2 points just for the greatest common factor. You have to recognize that, can you factor again? Mr. Ring, I don't know when, so I just stopped. Well, just do it. Try it. X squared minus 4x plus 3rd is, you have a trinomial. Half of 2 is 1, so you can use your x box. A times c. B value. Two numbers that multiply, but also add. If you haven't learned yet, you only have to do the x when your a value is equal to 1. I can just take these numbers, negative 3 and negative 1, and they go into my, so my answer is 6x to the 3rd times x minus 3 times x minus 1. And the problem for the Ken is one student came in, Mr. Ring, the Kens are the death of me. To me, it's actually to increase your grade, so if you want to see the math behind that. Can you imagine if I took off 4 plus 2 points for your name minus 6? It actually boosts your grade by 16%, assuming you get those correct. Here, there's a bunch of freebies, 2, 3, and a 1, and another 3, so 4 freebies in there. You're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers that multiply to be 80. 2 numbers that multiply to be 15. The only 2 are 5 and 3, so I started there when I was doing mine. Notice how I erased it quite a bit. 15 again, 5 and 3. 3 numbers that multiply to be 48, 2 numbers that multiply to be 2, 2 numbers that add up to 9, and 2 numbers that subtract to be 4. This does not say negative 4. That side is out of 20 points. Hopefully you were boxing your answers so you didn't get any minuses for that or being messy. And that test was out of 34.